What is up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of SacTown Movie Buffs. Once again, I'm Kier, and this is Jason, and we are back again reviewing two films for you today. The two films we're going to be reviewing are going to be Judas and the Black Messiah and The Little Thing. So two films that both can be found streaming. Are either one of them free? Or do you have to pay for both of them? I couldn't remember.
Well, they're both HBO Max. So if you have
HBO Max.
So
yeah, if you got HBO Max, then you're golden. If not, then you're maybe not. So those are the two films we'll be reviewing today. Both a little different. Definitely have some contrast to them, but both are HBO Max films, so in that sense they're kind of similar. I say we just kind of get right into it. So I'm gonna have you go ahead and start this one off, Jason. I'll have you take on Judas and the Black Messiah. So if you want to tell us a little bit about that film.
Yeah, sure. Judas and the Black Messiah. It stars Daniel Kaluuya from most people know from Get Out as Fred Hampton. It's based on a true story, I should add.
Right.
He plays Fred Hampton, who was a pivotal member of the Black Panther Party, a leader in the Black Panther Party, who was assassinated by the FBI. And I knew that part of the story.
Right.
Like, I knew about Fred Hampton. I knew about the assassination. I knew about the standoff and that, the Black Panthers fired one shot and the FBI fired 99. So didn't look like a fair fight. But so I knew about that part of the story. I did not know about the other part of the story, though, the Judas part of the story. So the Judas of the story is played by Lakeith Stanfield, who was also in Get Out, actually. And he plays also a real-life character named Bill O'Neill, who was a thief who was co-opted by the FBI to kind of be an undercover operative within the Black Panther Party. And he was tasked with getting close to Fred Hampton to kind of clear the way for the FBI to either arrest him or apparently assassinate him eventually. So the movie, in my opinion, even though Daniel Kaluuya has top billing, to me, honestly, the main character of the movie was Lakeith Stanfield. I think he was the main character of the movie because he's who all the action pivots from, I think. Before I get into all that, I'll just say that I really, really like this movie. I was glad to see that there was finally, one of these high-profile Warner Brothers movies that were being filtered to HBO Max instead of theaters. There's a good one, because I didn't care for Wonder Woman 1984. We're about to talk about The Little Things, which I guess I just already implied that I wasn't too hot on that one either. But this one it's finally a good one that I would have not regretted paying money for in the theater if I had seen it there. So, but yeah, I think the acting is really, really excellent in this movie. The filmmaking is really great, like the editing, the cinematography. If there was one thing that I couldn't give it top marks for, it did feel a little bit long. It did I thought the pacing went a little bit slack in the middle. But otherwise, I thought it was an excellent movie. I thought Daniel Kaluuya was great. He's always great. But to me, Lakeith Stanfield had the more difficult role. And to me, he was the lead character of the movie, which I wasn't expecting. But yeah, it was an informative movie. I didn't know this part of the story. I only knew about Fred Hampton and that he was assassinated. I didn't know about the Bill O'Neill part of the story. But yeah, it's a really, really good movie. I highly recommend it. And out of only 2 2021 movies I've seen this year, it's definitely number one. So we'll see how long it lasts there. How about you, Kier?
Yeah, and the same sentiments of the 2 2021 films that I've seen. It's gonna be number one for me too. So by default,
yeah.
Who knows, man? Maybe by the end of the year, it's still your number one. But
yeah, maybe.
Hey, last year I saw The Gentleman really, really early in the year, and that ended up being my number one film of the year when I did my list. So you never know. You just never know. Yeah. Sometimes it could be early, sometimes it could be late. You never know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Like I said, same with you. I didn't know the full story of the Judas part. I didn't know a lot about that. So that was something that was new to me, and I really didn't know all the full details. I got a little bit more of the details when we watched Trial of the Chicago 7, and they talked about that a little bit in there. And I did a little bit of my own research on Fred Hampton, kind of after that film, to find out kind of more about that story. Because everybody had said that he was assassinated. So I knew a little bit more about that story, but I didn't know about the Bill O'Neill part at all, really, until I saw the film. So I thought that was really, really interesting. In terms of their dynamic and how he, like you said, was working for the FBI, and of course, they kind of recount a lot of the statements that he says. You have to take that at what the FBI says as well. And they're of course never going to admit that it was an assassination hit on Fred Hampton, of course. So that obviously it's not going to. But yeah, it was really interesting. Like I said, I enjoyed it. A little long, maybe. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you on that. I felt like they might have, if they could have trimmed maybe 10, 15 minutes off of it in certain parts, might have been a really, really solid movie. So like you said, in that middle part, it does seem like it gets a little bit long on that. And I agree with you that Lakeith's is probably the star of the film in that capacity, because, like you said, all the conflict kind of centers around him, and Fred Hampton, unfortunately, and that's no fault of the lead, it is almost an afterthought, in the sense that it's more about the Judas part. It's more about him getting close to him and him trying to, you know what I mean? So it was more his story, because he's the one that basically,
and his internal conflict and all that.
Yeah, exactly. His internal conflict with, is he really, staying, what the FBI wants him to do, or is he kind of getting more into the civil rights and the Black Panther movement kind of thing? And that was kind of, I think he was conflicted and had his own struggles with that as well. And so I think highlighting that just gave him a little bit more of the main character, the main lead, I guess, if you will, in that capacity. So, but right. Yeah, I thought it was a good film. I enjoyed it. I just watched it over the weekend, so definitely one that, like I said, will for the two films that I've seen, it's definitely got number one for me. I always hate to say this, but unfortunately, I hope there's also better films that come out. As well. So I enjoyed it, but obviously, if it's the number one film of the year, I might be a little displeased with the year overall. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But overall, definitely a really good start to kick off 2021 in this film. So
not bad. Not bad.
Cool. Anything else you wanted to add about Judas and the Black Messiah?
Nope. I think we covered it.
Cool. All right, moving on to the next film, and I will cover that, and that is going to be The Little Things, which stars Denzel Washington as basically he's a cop. He's a cop that's in a new, basically. He's been reassigned at some point. We don't know when exactly it happened. It must have been a few years back or something of that nature. But he used to be a detective at some point. This is set in Los Angeles? Southern California, California, and I think he gets reassigned to like a smaller town or something of that nature. We don't know exactly what happened, but Bakersfield, that's right. Yeah,
Bakersfield. Yeah, it's Kern County, which is like the middle.
Yeah, Bakersfield. Yeah, you're right, Bakersfield. So he gets reassigned to basically Bakersfield a few years back, and he's more of a beat cop now. He's not an actual official a detective now, because he wears like an actual cop's uniform or whatever. And he's actually sent back to Los Angeles to pick up some evidence for another case that they're working on. He needs to go down there and pick up some evidence. And while he's there, he kind of gets himself in the middle of another murder investigation or homicide investigation of somebody that's basically killing women. And so he kind of teams up with the new detective that works there, that's actually played by what's that guy's name? Rami Malek. He teams up with the new detective who basically kind of took over his place, and it's kind of like that the new star detective in that area or whatever. So Rami Malek's character basically enlists him to kind of help him search for clues to find out, what's going on and that kind of stuff. So he starts working with them and basically, I guess, takes upon himself to take kind of like a leave of absence from his own job to continue working this case while he's also trying to solve a previous case that he thinks that this case might be linked to as well. So it's kind of like dual. He's like trying to solve this case, but he's also looking at an older case that he was working on as well. And so he kind of gets mixed up with them. And then at some point, also, they start zeroing in on Jared Leto's character, who they think might be the person that's actually killing women, basically. And so they basically start teaming up and following him and doing surveillance on him to figure out exactly, is he the killer? Is he the person they're looking for? Is he the suspect? Just because of some of the things that he said, and he knew a lot about the case. He knows a lot about the details of the case and that sort of thing. And that's kind of where the film basically goes from there, without getting too much into details. So it kind of builds itself as like this like murder mystery investigation kind of story. But I don't know. They spend a lot of time just like doing stakeouts in cars and revisiting Denzel Washington's character's old case and revisiting, what happened or what transpired to get him basically reassigned to Bakersfield. And I don't know, just somewhere in the shuffle, I just kind of started to lose interest more and more as the film wore on. When it first started, it seemed like this really, really gritty, like detective homicide type drama that I was in for it. I was okay, cool. This is going to be like this murder mystery. And then once they introduced Jared Leto's character, they spend the rest of the movie basically following Jared Leto around, basically like following him in his car and staking out his house and trying to break into his house to see if he's got any evidence in there. And that's kind of basically where the movie goes from there. And I just wasn't as interested. And for me, the ending, the payoff, if you will, left something to be desired as well. So I just by the end of it, I didn't really care. And, you're just left with more head scratchers like, okay, well, what was that all about? Kind of is the way I felt. So I don't know. Overall, I didn't love it. I thought it was just okay. I thought it could have been better. And I don't know, just wasn't something that I personally would revisit. So just my overall take. What was your feelings on it, Jason?
Yeah, it was just kind of forgettable. It was just kind of, I will, without getting into spoilers or anything. There really is no payoff. Yeah. I will, while I will give it credit for not ending the way that I thought it was going to. I thought it was going a particular direction the whole time, and it didn't do that. And for that, I will give it credit, but that didn't necessarily make it like more enjoyable or a better movie. It just didn't end the way I thought it would. But yeah,
Same.
It's just kind of.
I thought it was going a certain direction. I thought I was starting to figure some things out, and I thought it was going to go in that direction. And I'm still left wondering if that's, what the direction of that was. You know what I mean? So I'm still left with more questions and answers. So.
Yeah, basically, it's fine. I mean, like, it's well made. The performances are pretty good. It looks good. I love the poster, but it's just like, it felt like to me, which is kind of what I was afraid of before it started. It felt like one of those movies that came out in the years following The Silence of the Lambs and Seven, mm-hmm. that were just kind of a watered down version of, mm-hmm. I'm always up for a good serial killer movie. I mm-hmm. love true crime. I love all those documentaries that are such a big hit right now on Netflix about serial killers and stuff like that. So I'm always up for a movie like that. But, to me, this felt like one of those movies like Kiss the Girls or Along Came a Spider or, Copycats. Those movies just kind of all blurred together. I wasn't.
Yeah, all those movies that came out like after Silence of the Lambs that they just were not as Seven. Or Seven and Seven, and just weren't up to that standard. So
Right. It felt like another, and it's kind of funny that they said it in the early '90s. I don't think it wasn't intentional, but to me, it feels like, oh, they can't say we're ripping off those late '90s movies because we said it in the early '90s. But yeah, it just kind of like evaporates before your eyes. Like it starts out seeming like it's on pretty solid footing, and then it just kind of spins its wheels, and then just kind of ends with no closure really or anything like that. And the funny, like I agree with you. Like when Jared Leto's character comes in is when it kind of starts to go off the rails. But consequently, I think Jared Leto's performance was actually my favorite in the movie. Like I thought he was really good. Like he had like a really kind of off kilter energy to every scene that he's in. But the movie itself doesn't really do anything with the story at that point. It just kind of goes meh. After it's kind of hard.
I had no problem with his performance. Honestly, I had no problem with any of their performances per se. I didn't think any of them did a bad job. I just had issue with the pacing of the movie and kind of what the characters were tasked to kind of do. I mean, the second half of the movie is basically a stakeout. You know what I mean? It's like basically just following him around and seeing what he's doing, and that's pretty much where the movie goes to. And they spend so much time on that, that I just kind of was starting to lose interest. After the second time they've tried to break into his house or whatever, you know what I mean? Like I didn't care anymore. I'm just like, okay, can we figure out what's going on? Let's get to some point of, and then when they actually get to whatever they're going to get to, it just leaves something to be desired, basically. So.
Yeah, it's not very suspenseful. It's not very scary. It's not very.
And I will say this: I don't necessarily need movies to wrap up in a nice, neat bow, where everything gets wrapped up and everybody goes happy and everything's all figured out. I mean, I do like movies that they can end ambiguous and that kind of stuff, where you don't quite know exactly what was going on, or was this person a bad guy? Was this person a good guy? What was this person's motives? What, you know what I mean? I don't need it all to be spelled out for me, but just the way that it was told in this film, it just I don't know. It just, like I said, it just left something to be desired for me personally. So.
Yeah, I love a little ambiguity, but it can't be. I don't know. I need a little entertainment value too, and it just kind of seemed to lose entertainment value as it went on.
I agree, 100% for sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh well. Still, it's the second best movie of 2021, right?
Yeah. Until you see in the next movie, probably.
Out of two. Yeah, out of two.
By the time I get to 5, it better not be still the second best movie of 2021.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Is the hope, anyways. Cool. Anything else you want to add about the little things?
Nope.
All right. Well, going back to the reviews, overall grade and face you would give Judas and the Black Messiah?
I gave that a 4 out of 5. It's like this close to a 4.5 out of 5. And maybe when I watch it again, maybe I'll just go right to that middle section and not, and my attention won't waver a little bit. But this time, it just barely missed the 4.5 out of 5. So it's a strong, very strong B plus, almost an A minus. So either way, that's a happy face, even though it's a sad B.
Understood. Yeah, I went with a 3.5 out of 5 on this one. It's better than like what I would give like a quality through, because it is really, really well done. So I definitely elevated it for that. But I don't know if it's a film that I'll revisit at least immediately. I don't know. It just it's I don't need necessarily movies to be fun, but this wasn't one that I would say is like, oh my God, I can't wait to watch this again kind of film. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. So we'll see. But it's probably not one that I'll personally own, because it's an interesting story and I think it's good, but it's like more like, more educational values for me. So it was educational and informative in that sense. But you know how the story is going to end, and the events are leading up to the story is what you're finding out about. But I don't know if it's a film that I would rewatch necessarily. I don't know. So I give it 3.5 out of 5. I really did enjoy it. So that's a smile with some teeth. But But like I said,
Yeah.
I don't know, something about it. It was like I said, the pacing might have been a little slow. I don't know what it was about it, but just something about it. Just I don't know if it's one that I'll rush out and revisit anyway. So I'm not saying I wouldn't rewatch it, obviously, because it is a very good film. But I just don't know if I would rush out and watch it immediately. Is all. So
yeah.
And then moving on to the little things. Overall grade and face you would give the number 2 film of the year so far.
Yeah, no desire to revisit that one. That's for sure. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5, which is a C. Pretty mediocre overall, and that's bored face, because I was pretty bored after about the first, I don't know, half hour.
Yeah, I actually went a little bit lower with a 2 out of 5. But I'm pretty much giving it that same bored face. So same here. Yeah, after about the first like half hour, 45 minutes, I just kind of started to slowly get more and more just interested in what was going on. So yeah, just not one of the ones that I definitely not one that. Excuse me. Sorry, definitely not one that I will need to revisit. Sorry for the yawn there. But yeah, I was that bored. I was that bored. I just started yawning thinking about it. So, but yeah, definitely not one I'll revisit or anything of that nature. So, but it's I love Denzel Washington, but he does make a lot of films, and unfortunately, not all of them are going to be good. He's one of my favorite actors, but he's always known to be in some roles that are not good. I don't know. I think partially he just does some of these roles for the money in order to. I don't think we've had this discussion to finance other projects that he really wants to do, like Fences and things of that nature. So like these are the ones that pay the bills, and then he uses that money to produce or finance some other film that's going to be a really, really quality piece. So
yeah, I think he's even said that before. Like, I mean, like a lot of his movies are paycheck movies. Not that he's not going to give his best. But he does movies like this, I think, too, and I think he's even said so. He does movies like this so he can make, Antoine Fisher, so he can make Fences, so he can. I know he at least produced, or Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. He didn't direct it, but he produced it. I'm pretty sure.
Right. So yeah. So he still needs the money in order to put up for the movie. Yeah. So for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So he does the movies that are going to make money, so that he can make them. So that he can make the movies that aren't going to make as much money. That way, he has the credit with the studio to be able to do that. They may get Oscar nominations out of it, but movies like Fences and Ma Rainey are not going to. They're not going to
blow up the box office or anything like that. And I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know how any of these movies are actually doing financially now that they're all streaming. I don't know what the deals they have with that. So, going to HBO Max, or I don't know how they quantify that. I don't know if they just buy the rights to the film and then they just show it and it just gets streamed. I don't know how the money changes hands on this kind of stuff. So, because I don't know how you quantify something. I don't know if it's based on just how many people stream it, how many people sign up for the HBO Max service to watch it, or I guess the same way with Netflix. I don't know how they quantify how much money they're going to pay out for a film, or how much money the producers are going to make.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll look that up. Maybe somebody watching at home or watching this knows that answer, and they can easily tell me, but I'm not for sure. So I don't know. I've never looked into it to figure that part out. So I always just assumed that, if you wanted to make money, you got to go to the box office, because those numbers are easily quantifiable. A movie grosses $100 million at the box office, a movie goes on HBO Max, I don't know. So
it must have been a pretty sweet deal. That's all I can say, for Warner Brothers to forego a theatrical release and just send it home to people who have a subscription to it.
And they're doing this all the way through. And they're doing this all the way through 2022 apparently. So they've already bankrolled this.
Yeah, these are not small movies.
No, because Justice League is going to come out on that, and there's a bunch of other bigger movies. I think Suicide Squad 2 is supposed to come out on that. So there's a bunch of movies that are supposed to be coming out.
It must have been a pretty sweet deal.
Yeah.
Because these movies would have made money. For sure. So.
But then at the same time, when would they have made money? You know what I mean?
Right.
At the earliest, fall of 2021, at the latest, who knows? You know what I mean? 2022,
Yeah, who knows?
2023. So I don't know. So, but yeah, it must have been a decent deal for sure. So, but you know, this is the method that we're using to watch films, and you know, I've got, you know, a couple big screen TVs here at the house, so you know, I don't mind sitting at the house watching it on a 75-inch TV, so I'm okay with it. So,
yeah, you know, frankly, you know, I miss movie theaters and all that, and you know, I guess it's, you know, it's it's arguably a bad thing for this Warner Brothers deal to have happened, but frankly, you know, I was glad that I didn't pay, you know, $18 to see Wonder Woman or The Little Things. You know?
I mean, so there is something to be said about that, and you know, and we've still had to pay $20, you know, to see some of the films that are even streaming on TV. You know, Love and Monsters, and there's I know Bill and Ted Face the Music, and we did pay out some money, you know, $20 to see some of those films, which, you know, were good films. We love those films, but you know what I mean? But, you know, in some cases you're still paying, but I don't know. There is something to be said to be at the movie theaters. I agree. So if you're shelling out that kind of money. But yeah, definitely glad I didn't have to pay $20 for The Little Things, because I definitely would have been like, the popcorn was good, the soda was good, the movie was not good. So cool. Well, that's that. Let us know in the comments. Have you seen either film? Have you seen both films? What are your thoughts, your takes on them? Did you enjoy both of those films? And then, as always, if you like the channel, we ask that you like, subscribe, make sure you hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our updates. And we will be back again soon with another show for you. We hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
All right.